Episode 1. The Witness of the Heavens. Welcome to Episode 1. The Witness of the Heavens. We are entering Isaiah chapter 1, verses 1 to 9, and we will explore a powerful idea, the split in consciousness, and what it does to a people, to a mind, and even to the body. Before we begin, a clear disclaimer. This presentation is a metaphysical and psychological inquiry that uses certain concepts from the Seth Speaks material by Jane Roberts as a conceptual lens. It is not a replacement for scripture, doctrine, or personal faith. The Bible is honored here as sacred text. Our purpose is educational and philosophical, to examine how prophetic experience may operate through awareness, symbolism, moral perception, and the structure of human meaning. Isaiah opens with what looks like a simple historical introduction. He tells us that his vision concerns Judah and Jerusalem, and he places it across the reigns of 4 kings: Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah. To many readers, this is just a timeline, but Isaiah is doing something deeper. He is showing that true prophetic sight is not a temporary opinion. It is a stable perception that remains consistent even while leadership changes, policies change, and the national mood shifts. In scientific terms, you could call Isaiah's vision a persistent signal. It does not collapse under social pressure. In theological terms, this is revelation, an encounter with a moral order greater than politics. Isaiah stands inside history, yet his awareness is anchored in the source that judges history. His voice becomes a reference point, and that is why Isaiah still reads like a diagnosis, not only of a nation then, but of the human condition now. Then Isaiah does something radical. He does not begin by addressing the kings, the priests, or the institutions. He calls the cosmos itself. "Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for the Lord has spoken." This is more than poetry. In the biblical worldview, heaven and earth are witnesses. Isaiah is speaking like a covenant prosecutor, as if the universe is the courtroom. He is saying that the breach is so serious that reality itself is called to testify. And when we look at creation with both theology and science in mind, we see why this language is so powerful. The cosmos is structured. It is not random noise. Stars follow laws. Seasons keep rhythm. Cells replicate with astonishing precision. Life organizes itself through deep patterns of order. In Scripture, that order is not accidental. It is the signature of a speaking God. So Isaiah's point is sharp. The heavens and the earth remain consistent with their nature, but the human will, gifted with freedom, can turn against its own foundation. The problem is not lack of information. The problem is misalignment, a split inside the human being. And Isaiah immediately reveals the tragedy of that split, using a simple image. The ox knows its owner, and the donkey its master's feeding place. But Israel does not know. My people do not understand. This is not an insult about intelligence. Isaiah is speaking about recognition. Even animals, guided by instinct and memory, can orient themselves toward the source of their provision. They know where they belong. They know what sustains them. But Isaiah says the people have lost that recognition. They have become brilliant in rituals and blind in meaning. They can recite forms, yet forget their foundation. In modern psychological language, you might call this attentional displacement. The mind becomes obsessed with surfaces, status, fear, power, tribe, performance, and the deeper center goes silent. When that happens, something strange occurs. The human being can continue functioning, continue speaking religious language, continue doing public life, while inwardly drifting away from truth. The Bible calls this rebellion and forgetfulness. A metaphysical lens might call it a mesh of beliefs that blocks inner clarity. Different words, same reality. The loss of alignment with the source. Now Isaiah moves from moral language into medical language. He describes the results of this split, not just as guilt, but as sickness. The whole head is sick, and the whole heart is faint. From the sole of the foot to the head, there is no soundness in it, only wounds and bruises. Isaiah is describing a society whose inner disorder has become embodied. He is not just saying the nation is doing wrong, he is saying the nation is becoming unwell. This is where the theology becomes painfully practical. When a people disconnect from God, they do not only break a rule, they break a relationship, and that rupture creates disorder that spreads. When truth is compromised, trust collapses. When justice is neglected, fear grows. When violence becomes normal, the collective nervous system becomes hypervigilant. The social body becomes inflamed. In systems thinking, when feedback loops are ignored, the system destabilizes. symptoms increase. The damage becomes visible. Isaiah's sick head is cognition, corrupted thought becomes rationalization. Isaiah's faint heart is the moral, emotional center weakened, compassion drains, courage fails, integrity becomes exhausting. And Isaiah's warning is also a warning against superficial healing. You cannot heal a civilization with cosmetics. You cannot treat spiritual collapse with performance. You cannot restore a broken inner structure by repairing only the outer image. Then, in the midst of ruins, Isaiah introduces one of the most important ideas in prophetic theology, the remnant. Unless the Lord of hosts had left us a very small remnant, we would have become like Sodom and Gomorrah. The remnant is mercy's signature. It is the preserved core. It is the continuity of divine purpose inside human failure. It means that even when a city collapses, not everything is lost. Even when a society is damaged, there remains a seed of return. In scientific language, you could call it resilience. A system can recover if it retains a stable core pattern. In biblical language, this is not merely resilience, it is grace. God preserves a pathway back. The remnant is not the proof that humans are strong. It is the proof that God has not withdrawn his patience. And here is the spiritual conclusion of Isaiah 1, verses 1 to 9. Prophecy is moral sight. It sees the present and its trajectory at the same time. Creation is a witness because creation is coherent. It keeps faith with its nature. The deepest crisis is the split in consciousness when the human ego drifts from its source. That split does not stay invisible. It becomes sickness in thought, weakness in heart, and wounds in the life of a people. But even in judgment, a remnant remains an indestructible thread of mercy, so that return is still possible. So ask yourself, quietly and honestly, where is your recognition today? What has your attention been trained to worship? What do you call life? And what do you call truth? And if your inner alignment has drifted, what would it look like to return not to performance, but to reality? In our next episode, we will enter Isaiah 1, verses 10 to 20, and we will confront the warning about vain oblations, rituals without integrity, worship without alignment. We will ask what happens when spiritual practice becomes performance, when a beam tries to shine through a wall of lead. If this series helps you think more clearly, live more honestly, and return to what is real, support the work. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and find your beam.